Do you want to find a legal sports betting platform or application or something to just bet on the NFL playoffs or the NBA or NHL? Well, it's the big time of year for sports, and if you want to find the best way to bet, use the Better Edge app. Like I said, Better Edge is a legal online social betting marketplace that allows you to post and engage with other sports betting fans. You can place no commission positions in an online marketplace. There's no commissions. There's no VIG or anything that is taken away from your winnings. You earn everything you win when you win a bet on this app. You can compete in direct head-to-head challenges with your friends, with other horrible bettors like myself. I haven't been that great as well lately, but I've been doing okay. And you can also compete in public or private betting competitions. There are a lot of things that are set up in Better Edge around NFL playoffs, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, like little competitions and stuff like that. You can join. It's really cool, and there's always an entry fee, and there's also a big prize pool if you are the winner of those competitions. And you can, of course, buy or sell your positions on the spread, over, under, money line. Which is cool is you can sell your position midway through the game if you don't feel like it's going to hit and someone else can buy it. You can buy positions during a game, and of course before a game as well. But yeah, if you use promo code 10K10K at betteredge.com, you can get a free $20 when you sign up and verify your ID. So once again, use promo code 10K, that's 10K, at betteredge.com to get a free $20.
On today's episode of It's a Bit, we're joined by our good friend Darren Wolfson. He's a sports anchor and reporter for Channel 5 Eyewitness News, contributes to Score North. You've probably seen him break some news on Twitter. All around sports guy, awesome conversation with him around Vikings postmortem, Wild, Timberwolves, Gophers, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to go into our bits of the week because the Vikings are dead. We're depressed. There's some news around the Wild. Just kind of an interesting day in the Minnesota sports landscape, and that's going to consume all the time. So all that and more on It's a Bit.
You're listening to the It's a Bit podcast presented by 10,000 Takes.
You just made the roster.
Janine empire called 10,000 Takes.
Fucking like that?
Hey, those guys that do 10,000 takes, they do some funny bits, right?
They're good. They're funny dudes.
Yeah.
10,000 take.
All right, welcome back to another episode of It's a Bit presented by 10,000 Takes. My name is Bossman, joined by journalist Jake and Cam. And the Vikes are dead. The run is over.
It's done.
The magic has run out. And maybe we're frauds all along. But instead of just going into that, we're just going to get right into bit of the week because I know everyone's bits are probably going to involve this game and what happened yesterday. We're recording this Monday, by the way, just to get the immediate emotional reaction captured in a very authentic and raw way. That's what we go for here at the Take.
Yeah, we're definitely very raw today. Like I am fucking.
My liver's pretty raw.
My liver,
the tortilla thing I made last night,
smashed. Like I think a few years back. What was it? A couple years ago, we did a podcast when we were in the Prior Lake studio, and we were pretty fucking hungover. And I said, I think I'm going to die soon because I wasn't making any sense to what I was saying. I feel like that right now.
This is a very great reminder of why we don't record the show on Monday, especially this Monday.
Most Mondays we would actually be okay because it's not like we're not like going super hard every Sunday. But this kind of Sunday
this was NFL playoffs. This was
playoffs, and the Vikings lost. So either way, we would have won. We would have been celebrating by drinking and getting a little wasted.
It's crazy, dude. I was telling Houseboy Donnie this. I've only done NFL Sunday Fun Day a couple times this year, and I've gotten borderline blacked out every time. And I don't like drink till that point. That's like, obviously when I was in college, I just drank as much as I possibly could, but I don't do that as much anymore. But every time I've saved myself for Sunday and have gone hard for an NFL game, I just get so fucked up. I don't know if it's the sport, if it's the atmosphere, if it's the excitement, but I can't handle fucking Sundays anymore.
It's the worst.
Yeah. But let's just get into bit of the week, starting with you, Cam. This will kick off the conversation very well.
I have the depression bit. It's, the game was very depressing. And to make it even worse, like I woke up this morning, my head was pounding as if someone was building, like there was a construction site going on in my head. And it just made the depression bit even worse because I had to go to work. I was pissed about the Vikings.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like absolute ass, which is my own fault.
Right.
But
it's just
the worst.
The hangover would have been better, or like the feeling of that getting up and going to work and we won, you'd be like, yeah, you'd still have that like little positive energy that give you adrenaline.
You'd
to
be
get
like,
you through the
I'm
day.
going to deal with it today.
Yeah, you have,
and that's okay
you
because
have
the
that
Vikings
dopamine.
won.
Yeah, the dopamine
Correct.
to kind of maybe even offset some of the symptoms. Now you're just like really, you're down anyway. It's gloomy Monday, you know, working or whatever, and
I don't get to watch my favorite football team. Seasonal depression's probably kicking in. Like,
it's winter.
Yeah, this is bad timing to be an NFL fan in the Midwest when your team gets eliminated and it starts getting cold. It would fucking rain today. It rained today in Minnesota for like the entire day, which just made everything worse.
It was like 35 degrees, which
and now
is
it's going to
huge.
freeze overnight.
Yeah,
so I could probably skate to work if I wanted.
Yeah,
to
hey, you got to get better. You got to get better at those strides. This is a good opportunity. Make yourself get to your job.
Yeah,
your full-time job.
Get
on,
to
on the Blades
and get more on the hockey level because it's now hockey season officially, fully hockey season.
We're all in on the Wild.
Yeah,
is what I said today on Twitter.
This is always a good time of year, though. Like, it sucks having to get used to the Vikings always constantly either not making the playoffs around this time of year or getting eliminated. The only positive, like, okay, now I can just focus everything on hockey. And now it's like there's nothing else distracting other than hockey.
Yeah.
And away from hockey. And it's actually kind of nice that you can only focus on the Wild. That's the only positive this time of year when the Vikings do get out. You're like, okay, don't have to worry about them anymore or dealing with them or what they're doing week after week. It's just on to the Wild and hockey. But it still sucks.
The Wolves eventually here in the fold. Yeah. We don't have any excuse now.
In the last couple years now that they've been a little more relevant and actually been playing better, it's like, okay, yeah, you can follow the Wolves.
We got to make it to a game, and we just got to do some shit there. You got to do a Let's Get Sexy at the Wolves game.
I think that would play very well at a Wolves game.
Some angry comments about that from the Wolves fan base who thinks that we don't support them enough, which we try. Yeah. Trust me, we try.
We do.
But
it's tough, though.
But yeah, no more. I mean, obviously the NFL playoffs, we'll still watch that, and I know I'll be aggressively gambling on it. But yeah, now that you don't really have a stake in it, and it's crazy too. We mention this all the time, but like the success of Minnesota sports teams has a direct impact on our company and our brand.
I know.
And like when these teams go on a run, you know, there's so much great content to post. There's so much hype. There's so much awesome stuff you can do to grow. Like you look at brands like Barstool, like they were growing in the heat of the Tom Brady Patriots era. They got
Boston Red Sox.
They got to be at all these victory parades. They got to, you know, host more watch parties and go to games and make all it's playoff content so exciting. And it always gets taken away from us right when we get to the sweet spot of it. Same with the Wild last year. Like, it was so much fun to be at all the games, make all the videos, be involved in all that. And then when it gets taken away from you, it sucks. It sucks for us. I mean, I know it sucks for us as fans, but even as a media company. And we'll get into that with Doogie a little bit, like how it's like, where do we go now? Like, I guess we just, you know, every 2 nights, like we got the Wild, you know, every 2 nights maybe we got the Wolves. Go for basketball is kind of.
Go for hockey.
Yeah,
but in terms of professional major sports, yeah, it's like Wild, Wolves, and you could say like go for basketball is pretty much done. Yeah. Go for hockey is very niche. A lot of there's a lot of fans, but the state's so divided between all the different college hockey teams.
Right, because there's other schools.
You almost can't put that in there.
But yeah, dude, the watch party at Tom's was a blast, by the way. A bit of a gong show at certain points, you could say, but. They were giving my cousin was there. He bought me 2 tequila shots probably within 20 minutes. And then when the Vikings pretty much had lost, they walked around with this massive tray of freebies. I took one of those pretty much after the tequila shots, and you got to witness how big of a disaster I was. I came home and I tried to cook up some sort of quesadilla concoction with mac and cheese, Kraft singles.
Was that salami or sausage patties?
I don't even
Canadian
know what that.
bacon
I think it was Canadian bacon. And I could barely even talk. I was so fucking wasted. So
did you consume that whole concoction burrito thing?
It was fire from what I remember.
I mean, it looked good.
I ate that and I watched the end of the Ravens Bengals game, which was bananas. I saw that that big guy run that like 86-yard touchdown fumble recovery, which was bananas. But yeah, dude, that was a long day. It was Sunday fun day NFL.
It was a long day.
It wasn't very fun.
Yeah, in the end. But, I mean, there was still fun parts of it for sure. Like, it's fun still being in the playoffs in general, being a part of that atmosphere, going to games, being around that game. But, yeah, just constantly losing, though.
At least it was close. I know that's not what you want to hear, but, like, you could have had a Dallas situation where you get blown out.
And that's what I was kind of worried about.
That would be even worse.
I didn't. I guess
at least you lost a close game.
Yeah, when we were up 7-0 and then it turned into, like, 14-7, I'm like, that was on the back of my mind. If our offense starts getting shut down, it could have been 31-7 or whatever.
No one was stopping Daniel Jones, which is crazy to say out loud.
I mean, there was no one to stop him. He literally had the field in front of him. Like, he's not the fastest quarterback. Bad. He's not the most mobile quarterback, but you gave him. He's a pocket passing quarterback first. He's not like a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and we made him look like that. It was horrible.
Yeah, can't cover the spread Donatel too. I put way too much on Vikes -3, and that was a big mistake.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Spread Donatel.
Shit day of betting yesterday.
Spread Donatel.
I had the worst week ever betting, dude. It was so bad.
Do you want to cry?
College basketball.
My life's falling apart.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh,
I think everyone's at this point.
It'll be fine.
This is peak season though. January. This is where you're like, you know what? If I can get through this month in February, I think we're good.
Just give me to March.
Yep.
March Madness, Vegas.
March Madness, and then we're closer
We're
to the
down
NHL
the stretch.
playoffs, which are, by the way, this year finally starting. The NHL playoff schedule and NHL schedule is back to where it was pre-COVID finally, because last year it was still pushed to end of April, early May because of the the Olympic break that the players didn't end up going to anyway. Year before, obviously, the shortened season with COVID. We're finally back to, because it was weird ending the season in the beginning of May and starting playoffs middle of May. It's going to be nice to get it started earlier, middle of April, back to normal in terms of a schedule. So we're getting 3 months away from playoff hockey and playoff basketball. March Madness is 2 months away.
Yes.
Hey, and I'll remind everyone what's at stake for the Wild playoffs. I have promised that if the Wild do win the first series, which is a bit of a mountain to climb based on our team's history, the state's history, but I will shave my head right outside of the
just
XL.
The first series?
First series.
Okay.
And then I believe the second series might be skydiving. If we make it to the conference finals, I will skydive. Or maybe that's the cup. I got to go back. I think I wrote a blog back in October, but it's going to happen. I think the head shave is very realistic, and I'm willing.
And I might be serious about that.
I'm willing to go full blown Kalen Addison and fucking get rid of all this hair. I know, Cam, you're not as about that as I am, but I'm willing to do it for the team.
I might just go classic and just grow everything out.
Yeah.
Pubes, everything.
Okay. Yeah.
A little too much. No. For when they're in the playoffs, so seriously, I might just go full beard until they lose.
Yep.
And I might look awful. If they do end up making a run to the cup, that's like 2 months.
See,
I'll look horrible.
Start now.
I like that, though. That's funny because
I'll look bad.
You're going to have me, like, hairless completely, and I'm going to look like I'm 6 years old again. And you're going to look like you. You're going to look like fucking Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Yeah, and I usually get, like, this is actually the longest time in, like, 3 or 4 years that I've grown my hair out. Usually it's, like, every 3 months I get a haircut. I haven't got a haircut since, like, middle of August.
Yeah.
And I usually then will get a haircut before Vegas, like, or around that time of year before spring, because it starts getting fucking hot, you know? But I'm like, I might just fucking grow everything out. Just till the end of this wild season, which could be June.
No cut Corona all over again.
But I might shave my beard through them, but in terms of my hair, I'll keep that growing. So when we do get to the playoffs and I do have that hair and then I grow out the beard and they hopefully make a run, I will look like Tom Hanks in Castaway. That's the goal.
Hair annoys me, so I'm actually more on board with with the whole head shave thing, because then I probably won't need a haircut until August, which would be great for me.
Yeah,
but there's gonna be a heavy hat period there where I'm wearing a hat every day because I'm embarrassed to show that I have a buzz cut as a 25-year-old man.
And you gotta, like, I don't know what bald people do, but like you should, like, full on just
should I go?
It up,
yeah, I should go bald, shouldn't I?
Shine it.
I've never seen what my skull look or what my head looks like.
Yeah.
Oh,
that'd be interesting. I don't know if I
was a buzz cut kid growing up because I hated my hair. I started growing it out in high school a little more, but. Yeah, we'll see, man. But I won't care because the Wild will be that's going to be our Stanley Cup Finals. We've said it is making it to the second round. That's our Stanley Cup.
That's our championship.
So I'm in, dude. If that means cutting the hair, let's fucking cut the hair.
Let's go for it.
But yeah, anything else you guys want to say on the Vikings game? I know we're going to get into it with Darren a lot more from KSTP, but there was still some blame on Kirk, which is not surprising, but is still as stupid as normal.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was pathetic how stupid. I'm not surprised. Like, I put out a few drunk tweets last night. I probably would have put out sober, let's be honest. Like, I'm just get passionate about it, about people complaining about Kirk Cousins. He went for almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, almost had a flawless game. There was a couple questionable play calls, couple questionable passes, but these fans act like he's supposed to go 100% on completions. And some idiot was saying, well, you missed some passes. I'm like, well, fucking
Every
Tom Brady
quarterback.
misses passes.
Tom Brady's 9 for 18 right now with 1 interception.
Yeah, but I'm like Tom Brady in his prime 10 plus years ago in his Super Bowl runs would miss and make dumb passes. And then someone replies, wow, comparing Tom Brady to Kirk Cousins. I'm like, where the fuck did I compare Kirk Cousins to Tom Brady? I'm just saying the best of the best miss passes. And the idea that, and they were fixated on that 4th and 8 play, and yeah, we'll talk about it more with Darren, but they were fixated on that as if he was at the 3-yard line and it was a 6-point game and a touchdown could have won it.
And he had all the time in the world, which he didn't.
A guy was in. I was telling Zane Wags I was at the game with. He had a guy in his face in like a second and a half. Even if he was a scrambling quarterback, he would have had a second and a half to make a split decision. Like, am I going to roll out here or not? And even so, he still could have been sacked. And if you look at it, like Justin Jefferson was triple teamed, Adam Thielen had no separation, KJ Osborne certainly wasn't open. He would have had to make a blind throw downfield at the 50-yard line, still down by 7, because your defense gives up 431 fucking yards and 26 first downs to Daniel Jones and the Giants, who's not even a mobile quarterback. He's not considered a mobile quarterback. He can run a little bit, but that's because they gave him open field.
Yeah, that's not his primary game.
No. And another dumb tweet I saw was, this is where like I was bitching about, I was saying stuff about Kirk Cousins and he's just a pocket passing quarterback. We're like, well, that era is behind us. We're on to the mobile quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. That's the future. I'm like, okay, they're good quarterbacks, but I wouldn't consider them like the mobile future. That's Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, kind of people that really quick and really agile. Daniel Jones, good quarterback, but he's not a mobile quarterback. He's not agile. He's a pocket passing quarterback.
He's like Josh Allen. He's good.
Exactly.
He's good for a couple good runs a game normally.
Like if he has open field.
Yes.
And that's all.
Or even like Rodgers a couple years ago.
Mobile quarterbacks to me are like the Kyler Murrays that literally make something out of nothing. And they can literally evade tackles and shit like that. So if you're trying to tell me that we lost because the mobile quarterback scenario and Kirk Cousins isn't a mobile quarterback, Daniel Jones is literally almost like a cookie cutter 10-year, like a 10 years younger version of Kirk Cousins that maybe has a little bit better running ability, but in terms of rolling out and all this shit, we gave it to him. The defensive gave him no pressure.
It's the worst defensive scheme, especially in a playoff game.
He had so much time to throw every football
I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
It is very unfortunate. I did see a stat out there about the worst defense in the NFL year by year and their record.
Records.
It's barely not even half the teams are even 500.
No,
but the Vikings,
none of them are.
This has to be the best team with the worst defense in NFL history, right? It's got to be up there.
Yeah.
13-4 with the worst rated NFL defense.
Were we actually considered the worst defense?
I believe so.
I think we're like 32nd, 31st in a lot of categories.
I saw 32nd. I guess it depends on who,
Yeah, but
who ranked
we were at bottom 10, which is still horrible.
Such a mismatch in San Fran.
I know.
Yeah, we would have got fucked.
It would have been bad. And then you have guys like Brian O'Neill out, which is crucial.
That did not help at all.
You want to go up against Nick Bosa without Brian O'Neill,
our O-line looked horrible, and there was a couple good, Darrisaw looked okay.
Did you see that play? He does it every game, where Darrisaw just murdered a man.
Yeah,
dude.
Oh my God,
he's such a beast.
He's so
he's
good.
the best.
But if you look, the O-line was getting broken down, and Kirk still made but they bring up if we had a mobile quarterback, he would extend some of those plays. I'm like, you do realize mobile quarterbacks get sacked all the time because their offensive line breaks down within 2 seconds. The mobile quarterbacks do the best when they still have time in the pocket, like at least 4 or 5 seconds. Kirk maybe had less than 2 seconds on that last play. Someone made a good point. Even maybe 5 quarterbacks in the entire league could have rolled out on that, and not even 100%. It's ridiculous that people still blame Kirk for this. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. When
Cam, speaking,
goodness gracious,
you can probably attest this. There is nothing funnier than being on Twitter when Jake's had a few cocktails and you see his stupid Mike Hawk profile picture.
Oh, I know,
and paragraphs with exclamation points. And
it's
funny. He's wasted and he's tweeting again.
Someone take his phone away.
And I have tweeted stuff like that, sober. I just have that passion, but I'm more likely to tweet shit. And I went on 4 or 5 tweets. I woke up this morning. I don't remember tweeting that. I remember tweeting the one tweet.
What time did you get home last night?
Had to be around 10:30ish, maybe.
Oh, so not
maybe
that much
11.
later.
I went to bed at 11.
We kind of left.
Oh man.
our blogger Mike Brown came over because he needed to charge his phone. So it was just me and him at the bar watching the rest of the game. Came over here, charged his phone, showed him the house, but there was more bitching about the Vikings too and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't super late, but too late. Still.
I slept until noon today.
I'm so jealous of you.
I did wake up at 4 a.m. with like crippling anxiety though, for a couple hours, so it was more of like a fall back asleep at 6, wake up at noon kind of thing. But yeah, I needed the sleep.
I woke up at like 7 and didn't go back to
That's
sleep.
the drunkest I've been in a while. You can see the tortilla video.
The video's so funny.
I could barely even put together a sentence.
Shut up, fridge.
Yeah, that
was
fucking
great.
fridge. It beeps though every time if it's open for more than 10 seconds, it starts beeping at you. It's like shut up.
Yeah.
You know
Shut
what?
up, fridge.
If you get ruined or something in my house gets ruined because I leave that thing open, that's on me. It's not on you. Don't tell me to close it. What are you gonna do?
But ultimately, like, this goes into like my bit quick of I think I might have even done this in the past, just in general, the way she goes bit, which is primarily coming from Trailer Park Boys and from the Notorious scene where Ray rolls into the VLT room, spends all of their liquor money when he should have been going up to the bar to get him drinks, and they go in there, Ray, what the fuck? Where's our liquor money? So, also liquor money, boys, way she goes. And it's kind of like, and I've said that so many times in horrible sport. It's actually helps me a little bit in recent years when I've seen horrible Minnesota games, playoffs or not. I'm like, well, way she goes.
I mean, it's
Business usual.
a fair response in life. Like,
It is, in general.
Something shitty happens to you. What are you gonna do about
Exactly.
it? There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Well, fucking way she goes. It's the way
And
life
it
goes.
actually does kind of help you. It's like, well, it happened. You can't change it. Way she goes.
I agree with that, and I acknowledge that. But the worst thing ever is for someone to fucking tell you that when you're sad, Jake.
Yeah.
You did it after the Gopher game, and then you did it last night too. I'm like, God, I'm gonna kill you.
But like I've been doing that like 5 years ago. I wouldn't have said that. I would have been like, no, fuck this. But then it's kind of like, I think it's my coping. I think I'm still fucking pissed off in my head, but it's kind of like telling myself, well, don't get too down. It happens. Minnesota, way she goes. It happened. But that you're still pissed. I was still pissed off internally for sure. I'm just trying to keep myself sane.
There's nothing truly you can do good, and that's going to make you feel better, so you might as well crack a joke.
Way she goes,
Crack a joke.
Yeah, I think I literally turned to Zane right after, and Gavin, his brother, was there. I'm like, well, way she goes, and we just
I'm pretty sure there was a time at Tom's Bar before you guys went to the game where I heard you say we're going to lose today.
I woke up this morning terrified. I said it after like my third beer under my breath. I think it was like when
I heard you.
I'm like, we're gonna lose.
We're gonna lose today.
I had this really grueling dread feeling. It was weird. I kind of was reflecting back on going into the game and sitting down in our seats and just almost. I was excited to be there, but there was a feeling of I'm not excited right now.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling it's just not going to go well, and that's. It's not. I'm not saying I'm this all-knowing psychic. It's just a feeling because we've seen it happen time and time again. It's going to happen one of these times where I think for every playoff game, even a wild playoff series, I'm going to always say I have a bad feeling because it's normal, and then we're going to win. I'm going to be like, okay, I was wrong.
I mean, in Minnesota though, the negative is the default.
Yeah.
So you're not very
not
far. You're not
psychic.
very far from normal by going in with that reaction. I guarantee that was over half the stadium. Was like, there's a good chance we fucking lose today.
There are people like I know people personally, and it's not or not even you, Cam, or anybody. It's people that are like, no, this team has a shot to go deep this year. They're going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be this year.
That's 100%.
Let's fucking go.
No, I'm not going to call anyone out specifically. Like there are people that were like, no, this is our year for sure. Like we're running the table.
Oh, I didn't say that.
No, like I'm talking about people that had 100% confidence that this was. I'm like, you can't say that in Minnesota.
Well, dude, all the people who were tweeting on Saturday night, like, looks like the Vikes are going to San Fran.
Yep.
Like,
No.
They play New York tomorrow. That's the next thing up.
A lot of fans were on the boat of like, yeah, we're gonna lose in San Fran.
Which
I'm like,
is
we gotta
fair
win the
enough to
wild
look
card.
ahead, but like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be talking
And-
about San Fran until you're playing San Fran.
I was certainly looking at scenarios if we beat New York to like kind of like, okay, what could we do if we beat New York? But I was ultimately, we got to win this wild card game. I was not.
Yeah.
The only thing I was very disappointed on after the game was just that was one of the loudest games I was ever at. Like it was fucking loud, and you cannot and you have seen it at games there in the past how it affects teams where they call a timeout or they look confused offensively. Daniel Jones in New York, I think because solely if our defensive pressure was a little better, the crowd could have played a bigger factor in it. But they looked like he was playing in front of no fans in a practice.
They weren't even rattled.
He was just, and they were prepared for it. They're NFL players, but it can still do something, and it did nothing.
Yeah.
The home crowd advantage, how loud it was, how much I screamed yesterday. It just was like all for nothing. I'm like, that is what I'm more pissed about. Just like ruining probably my voice for the future. I'm going to lose my voice at
And
age 50.
ruining your day at work today.
Yeah, exactly. And still, oh goodness, and on top of just the hangover feeling, it just
Like I mentioned, we're gonna talk a lot more about the game with Doogie and break down kind of what happened there. But I'm gonna take your 2 bits and raise you a positive bit. The Chef Boldy bit. Our boy Matt Boldy re-signed a 7-year, $49 million contract with the Wild today. Let's give a little round of applause for that at least.
That's big.
Boldy's been a huge stud on the team, ever since he came up from Iowa, and he's been nothing but an all-star. And that was, I know there's a lot of contracts they need to rework in the offseason. We don't know who's going to stick around, but that was, I think, the biggest one they wanted to take care of. And I'm glad they did it now before playoffs, just because that's the last thing you want going through his head in the playoffs is like, well, when this is all over, I got to figure out where my future is. Like now, at least
comfortable
as one of our top 6 guys, like he knows where he's going to be next year, and now it's just fucking pedal to the metal down the stretch. So Boldy re-signing was an awesome bit. As we're going to get into it with Darren, but apparently at the Wild practice they did 49 stick taps for every $1 million he made, which that's a lot of stick taps.
That's a lot of millions.
That's a lot of millions, a lot of stick. It's just crazy thinking about it. If I was there watching that practice, which apparently there's a shit ton of people there today because kids didn't have school and whatnot, but they were tapping their stick over and over again 49 times. It'd be crazy to just picture every time they're doing that, it's because Matt Boldy is making another $1 million from the organization. So,
well,
he's a rich man.
He deserves it. He definitely deserves it. The way the market's set up, you don't want him to leave. He's a great asset. I mean, for this team, Chef fucking Boldy. It was a bold move by the Wild.
Oh, that's good.
I saw the NHL post
that.
I like that.
It's just he's gonna be around post. He's still gonna be here post Parise Suter buyout. Cap hell is over. He's gonna be here when Wallstad is fucking ready to go. I mean, dude, this team in a couple. This is so Minnesota sports fan, but like this team in a couple years is going to be dangerous. And now that Boldy is locked in, Kirill locked in last year, hopefully get Gustafsson locked in over the summer. Maybe try to figure out something with Reeves, Goudreau. I know there's like a ton of question marks, but it's all coming together. So today was a big day. Today was a good day, at least something to take your mind off the Vikings.
It was nice. Well, no, like I said, the top off the show, the only positive is this is the year now, and now it's fully on hockey. Winter, we have ice out. You just focus on the Wild, and this just is a reminder that the Wild they still exist.
And it's still about fucking winning. We still got, Billy Gamble's at the helm. He's doing everything right.
Yep. It's about fucking winning.
Life's good here.
I love it.
I have an honorable mention bit.
Yeah.
Kirill's stolen 100th goal bit. So Kirill scored his 100th NHL goal, I think in Saturday's game against Arizona, and the Bastards took it away from him.
Fuckers.
To his credit, Sam Steele was offsides, but it was only by like this much. It's like, it's the guy's 100th goal. It was at home.
Just give it to him.
Come on, Toronto.
And I think, too, it was almost 2 years. I think it was 2 days after 2 years from his first goal in Minnesota, that overtime goal against L.A. I think it was in L.A. during the bubble shit.
It was the first year.
His first game, so that would have been kind of a cool alignment there. But so I tweeted out like the picture of Kirill, like 100th goal, and then when they called back the goal, I didn't even delete it. I said I'm just going to keep this up until he actually does it, which I got called like a trigger happy dork and barstool wannabes, the typical Rolodex of insults. But when he does score that 100th goal, whether it's tomorrow night or Thursday night, like I said, we're recording Monday, we're going to be the first ones to report it because the tweet is already up.
True. Love it.
So
it's already good. Boom.
Bump.
We predict the future.
We're ahead of it. We just got to put out a...
We should actually put out one for congrats on his 101st goal, and we can do it immediately after it happens. It's like we already had the tweet ready.
Or we can put out a tweet or have it scheduled. Congrats on the Vikings winning the 2024 Super Bowl, and maybe it'll come into fruition. Or this Wild Stanley Cup. Everything we tweet is like a death note, except the opposite.
The Twins win a playoff game?
Win the playoff game. Why wouldn't you write a World Series? Not yet. They need to win a playoff game.
You can't climb the ladder. You can't skip 6 steps.
We're not going to take
the way
advantage of this power here. What we tweet
we gotta be responsible.
comes into reality.
But all right, anyways, that just about does it for Bit of the Week. Stick around after the break. We're going to get into plenty of Minnesota sports talk with KSTP reporter Darren Wolfson.
Hey guys, Kirk Cousins here. I'm out pre-gaming with the fans, because I'm one with the people. I get it. I don't typically drink, but I'm going to do it before the playoff game because it gets me jacked. So let's go. Let's beat the Giants today. And I appreciate all you people out there. And you like that? Skol Vikings. God bless Kirk Cousins.
All right, everybody, welcome back to It's a Bit. We got a very special guest joining us remotely. We got Darren Wolfson. He's a sports anchor and reporter for Channel 5 Eyewitness News. He's got the scoop on pretty much everything going around, and we were talking a little bit before the show about Gopher football and the Vikings and how we've now entered this little lull in content where we pretty much only have the Wolves and the Wild to keep us alive. But Darren, I guess, how you been ever since last night's catastrophe, since we're recording on Monday?
Yeah, good to see you guys. I appreciate you guys welcoming me back. Always appreciated being on with you guys. Love what you guys do. I have it on my list of things to do in 2023. It was a New Year's resolution. You guys don't know this. I internalized it, but now I'll verbalize it for the masses. I definitely want to join you guys for one of the beer cup snakes that you guys do, whether it's at CHS or a Target Field. I think the summer probably will work better.
Okay.
Heck, if you guys do something maybe March, early April at XL Energy Center, maybe that will work too. But definitely a baseball game. So definitely want to join you guys for that. So that'll put a smile on my face at some point. But yeah, I did not foresee being in the Vikings locker room earlier today talking about the season being over. I thought, maybe 1 week from now, I thought they would go to San Francisco, lose. That would be the season. But hey, 13 wins, win a playoff game. I would have been like, yeah, that's a big-time successful first year, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. But after getting embarrassed, and I know, like, score-wise it wasn't embarrassing, but when you lose, to me, to a team that isn't all that good. I mean, the Giants scored over 30 points only once all year against the lowly Indianapolis Colts late in the season when the Colts were mailing it in completely. Like, to lose that game, man alive, like, I'm not even sure, like, I don't want to call it a failure of a season. Definitely wasn't a failure, but it's hard for me to go all in on this being a successful year, even with the 13 wins, winning the North convincingly. After you lose a home playoff game, a game you were supposed to win, and you lose the way you did, it's hard for me to say, like, successful year.
Yeah.
Well, how was it in the locker room? I saw a couple interviews you did with Garrett Bradbury. Everybody, of course, was down, but what was, like, the vibe from everybody in there?
Shell-shocked. Shandon Sullivan told me, hey, never in a million years did I think I'd be talking to you today about the season being over. Still flustered, right? Like, just a lot of guys still trying to fish for answers. Now, Cam Bynum said he watched back the tape. He said it was more execution than anything else. Garrett Bradbury also watched the tape, but some guys hadn't even watched the tape yet when I was in there at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So still guys just trying to figure out what exactly to say. Not everybody was in the locker room, but like Eric Kendricks didn't comment post-game on Sunday. Like, I've been in the locker room after many losses. Eric Kendricks is always a stand-up guy, and he was stand-up today. But, like, he refused to comment. Like, we asked him Sunday, hey, Eric, can we grab you for a few questions? He said no. He was so emotional, just couldn't find the words to articulate what just took place. But he did hold court on Monday, but like, I was searching out Dalvin Tomlinson. I wanted to talk to Dalvin, who's a free agent, who I know the Vikings have some interest in re-signing. He was nowhere to be found. Like, a bunch of guys were just nowhere to be found, but Justin Jefferson held court, Dalvin Cook, enough guys. I mean, we got plenty for our sake on Channel 5, but it was interesting that, I thought maybe the whole team or close to the whole team would be in there this afternoon. That wasn't the case.
I think the big question at this point everyone's asking is, where do you point the finger? I think one piece of it is very obvious, but I'm curious from your perspective where you point the finger.
Well, I mean, I pointed at Ed Donatel.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, Kevin O'Connell hired him.
Yep.
But these defensive players are too talented.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how often the crossing routes, the miscommunication, the collision we saw even as recently as the playoff game yesterday. Like, these players are too talented to be making mistakes like that. That, to me, falls on the defensive coordinator. When you allow over 400 yards in 11 games, when you allow over 400 yards twice, to the New York Giants, a mediocre at best offense. Heck, Daniel Jones is going to hit the jackpot in a couple weeks, sometime before the start of next season. The Giants didn't exercise their 5th-year option on him. He now has the hammer. I mean, they either use the franchise tag or pay him handsomely on a long-term deal. He better send the Vikings one heck of a gift basket.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Daniel Jones has to thank the Vikings for the contract he's about to sign. And I'm not saying, hey, like, I'll fully admit some of these guys on defense are aging, right? I mean, there are warts, talent-wise. I get it. Some of these guys are on the wrong side of their careers. But I still think collectively, these guys are just too damn good to have all the communication breakdowns, that they had during the year. So to me, I point the finger squarely at Donatell. I've been preparing for a while as if there will be a new defensive coordinator. O'Connell and Kwesi will hold court on Wednesday. Kwesi, he's one of these GMs who doesn't want to offer comment, at least on camera, during the season. He did something after the TJ Hawkinson trade. The one good move he made, I guess Zadarius Smith was a pretty good move as well. But, the jury's still out on the first-year general manager. But he'll talk to us on Wednesday. O'Connell will talk to us on Wednesday. I'm wondering by then if we have official news on Donatell. But I'm just saying, I've been preparing for some time as if a new defensive coordinator will be in place.
So you're telling me that the 3-yard pass from Kirk Cousins at the end of the game wasn't the main cause of that entire game of why they lost?
I know.
That's what a lot of people are almost saying.
Jake, you know what? My 8-year-old blew up my phone immediately after the game yesterday saying, "What was that?" Like, my 8-year-old, who's diehard, my 11-year-old in the background also was screaming, "What the heck was that?" He actually used a different word.
Naturally, though. That's fair.
It was the natural. Naturally, follows in his dad's footsteps. But naturally, I get it. Like, that is the easy reaction, right? Like, Kirk, what the heck were you doing? But Kirk was brilliant for 95% of that game. Like, it's hard for me to sit here and bash Kirk.
On one play at the end of the game.
The third down throw before the 4th down, he could have put the ball a little bit more out in front of KJ Osborne.
KJ also could have probably caught it, too.
Set up that 4th and 8. Yeah, but, like, I'm not mad at Kirk. I mean, sure, should he have thrown it up? Like, we saw it in Buffalo. Yeah. Just throw it up, give Jefferson a chance, even though
he was triple
teamed.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you're right, Jake. Like, the chances of that happening were minuscule, but sure, would I've preferred that? Yeah, absolutely. But that loss was all on the defense. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, Kirk, stunk. Hey, it's time to trade Kirk.
Over that one
play. I've heard
play.
Some of that. I've seen that in my timeline on Twitter. People saying, hey, it's time to fully hit the reset button. Time for them to go all in on a rebuild. Yeah. Hey, whether it's Tennessee, Las Vegas, San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, if they're not in love with Brock Purdy, if maybe this next playoff game goes south, because to me, like, Purdy should be the guy in San Francisco next year. But we know how much Kyle Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins. So, like, I've had people suggest that in my timeline, those teams that presumably will be in on Tom Brady, if they swing and miss on Brady, come call the Vikings. It's time for Kwesi to trade Kirk. I'm not there yet. Like, you could have talked me into it this time last year, but now after the year that Kirk just had, I'm all in on Kirk being this team's quarterback until the day he retires, which I would think would be like 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah, well, and the worst part about it is, like, in parallel, you have the Lamar Jackson news, so everyone looks at that and they're like, "Oh, we can go after that." Like, that's a possibility. But there was a playoff game that he didn't even play in.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the car this morning heading into the office before heading out to. Well, actually, I went to wild practice, which we can get to at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then from wild practice, I went out to Egan. But anyway, I was in the car. Normally I'd listen to my guy PA, but they were in a commercial break, so I flipped over to ESPN Radio. So the national guy was the Greenberg show, but he was off. He takes a million days of vacation. So Chris Carlin was the fill-in host. He was advocating for that. Like, he was saying the Vikings need to go get Lamar Jackson. I'm like, what? Come on.
I just don't.
Like, no. And I like Lamar, right? But no. Like, you have your quarterback.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it. You have your quarterback for the next few years. Figure out a way to make it work.
We've had the most stability at the quarterback position in, like, at least a couple decades. I just don't see how having a mobile quarterback like that would have somehow magically made the offensive line give the quarterback more time and prevent the Giants from giving up 30, or prevent the Giants or scoring 31 points and giving up 26 first downs.
Yeah, you made Daniel Jones look like Tom Brady, but you want a new quarterback?
Yeah, there might be one or two more plays that Lamar Jackson could maybe extend a little bit. But
you want to know what? They're thinking about that last
goodness.
play because Lamar might have been able to scramble there, get a first down. Maybe the Vikings are playing next week. That's probably the only thing they're thinking about, which is
They're
bananas.
at the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
though.
bananas.
It's like,
considering how well Kirk played literally every other play, like you said. So, yeah, it is so funny to see that stuff get thrown around at the end of every season.
Correct. And hey, like they cited the 4th and 8, and how did Kirk do that? I thought Kurt Warner, I don't know if you guys saw it on social media, but Kurt Warner on his Twitter page did a 6.5 minute long video from the All-22 film breaking down why the play design wasn't a good one. Like it wasn't O'Connell's best day. Right? I mean, the throw to Kirk on 3rd and 1.
What the hell was that?
So cute on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Like, what the hell was that? There were also some really good plays. Like, I thought the opening drive was brilliant. Right? That scripted drive was so darn good. So, like, O'Connell had his moments, but yeah, I mean, that throw to Kirk was baffling.
That
play design, right? I mean, with how, like, why are you having him chip? Why did Thielen run such a deep route? Why did Osborne run such a deep route? Osborne didn't need to run that far, right? Because he did pop open, but it was too late. Yeah, you knew Justin was going to see a second or third defender, but like there were things they could have done differently with Hawkinson, with Thielen, even Cook out of the backfield potentially, but more so Thielen, Hawkinson, Osborne, right? So I thought Kurt Warner did a marvelous job detailing why it's hard to blame Kirk based on that play design.
I even saw Booger McFarland. I think I don't know if it was him because I didn't see the person talking or analyzing. It sounded like him. He made some great points too. They showed Justin Jefferson being like double, triple covered. KJ Osborne, they said he could have maybe actually ran a more of a middle route. He was just covered. And then there was a guy in Kirk's face within 2 seconds and the open pass, the guaranteed pass was to Hawkinson, and from right before he threw it, it actually looked like if you hit Hawkinson, he could potentially actually break off the tackle and get a first down. So it's like it was just a hard play. And,
I started laughing out loud at that play. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, no, for sure.
When they threw it to Kirk and they're like, he's gonna be the one who's gonna get the first down here. I was like, that was terrible.
Well, that play that was horrible. Yeah, I didn't understand.
Well,
that at
and
all.
we've seen it too often, right? I mean, just check down after check down going back to the previous regime, not necessarily as much, this year, but under Zim, right? I mean, there were many times where Kirk, you'd be screaming at your TV saying, Kirk, what the heck are you doing? Why are you checking down? Right? So, like, there was a little bit of a history. So, yeah, considering the circumstances, considering it was the final play of the season, the do or die scenario of you need to convert that 4th down, right? And, hey, by the way, I think if they convert that 4th down, they would have found a way to win. Call me nuts.
Yeah.
Whether it was
for sure.
scoring
overtime.
a touchdown, tying it, and then going to overtime, or maybe even going for 2 there at the end of regulation, winning 32-31, or winning in overtime 34-31, or 38-31 with the new overtime rules. However it would have played out, I just think they would have gone on to score a touchdown if they convert on that 4th down. Like, to me, there was minimal proof that the Giants were going to find a way to stop them. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. Like, just, the total package, it screams disappointment, even though, again, I'm telling you, like, I think San Francisco would have been a nightmare matchup.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco, like, how pissed off is San Francisco right now, knowing that they have to play either Dallas or Tampa? I know we're talking here at 7 o'clock right before kickoff of the Cowboys and Buccaneers game. So San Francisco gets the winner of that game. But, like, call it a hunch more than anything. But I think San Francisco is licking its chops saying, bring on Minnesota. We don't want Dallas in particular.
Yeah.
But we also don't want Tom Brady and Tampa if they're coming off a playoff victory. We want that Vikings team. We saw them in the scrimmage in August, or the 2 days of joint practices. We have enough knowledge on them. We know how much we kicked their tail in those 2 August practices. We want the Vikings. So I can bet you the Niners are not real happy right now.
Yeah.
No, they can't be.
Because I was saying, like, before the Vikings, or before their last drive, I'm like, if we somehow pull off this game, though, the way the defense is played, like, I'll be happy. Don't get me wrong. I want to see us play another game, because you never know. We don't know what the outcome of that game would have been. It's all hypotheticals. But I'm like, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are going to fucking put up 40, 50 points on this defense.
This isn't even an
Daniel
exaggeration.
Jones
I think
can do that,
50 plus points, the way that San Fran offense has looked since the McCaffrey trade, let alone the first playoff game against Seattle. They would have. You actually might have seen 60 points.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding.
It might have been a Georgia, TCU national championship game.
So
I mean, don't even forget about Elijah Mitchell, who's a really good running back. Right?
Ayuk, who is somehow the third best receiver on that team.
Ayuk and Samuel, the crossing routes, right?
Dude.
Even Jennings showing
They
up.
would have had a field day.
I mean, if Brock Purdy had time, and I think he would have, the Niners' offensive line is fully capable, especially when healthy, right? With the best left tackle in the game, a really good right tackle, good enough interior blockers. Like, Purdy would have had time. Yeah, I mean, and the Niners' defense is so darn good.
Yeah, Bosa.
It's not like the Vikings were going to have like a 20-play drive. How about a 20-play drive yesterday? I spoke with Jordan Hicks post-game about that. He's like, yeah, I've been playing football a long time. I don't remember ever being on the opposite side of a 20-play drive that went nearly 11 minutes. Like, that is ridiculous.
That game flew by in general.
Yeah,
the first game of the day felt like it took forever.
Yeah, and
the second game it felt
they
like
delayed the game.
Yeah, but the second game you blinked and it was over. The Vikings game was like that first half I remember was insanely fast. So yeah, they just
there
ran
weren't
out the
really
clock.
any injury timeouts, right? Later in the game, the Giants lost to safety where they brought out the cart, but at least the first half, no. Like in the first half, there were like what, 2 incompletions, 3 incompletions.
Yeah, and not a lot of penalties either.
Not many penalties. Yeah, so I mean, it was completion after completion or run. So yeah, the clock kept moving. So you're right. I mean, that first half was done felt like maybe what, an hour and 10 minutes ish. When the Bills-Dolphins game took like 2 hours in the first half.
Yeah. Were you as fired up at halftime about Ludacris as Jake was?
Oh yeah.
Are you a Ludacris fan?
Yeah, like Chris Long, my TV colleague, he was sitting to my left. He's like, let's get up there. Like, let's get in line. They got the really good chicken fingers. They got the brats. They got pizza. Like, the spread is fantastic. I'm like, Chris, come on. And he understood. He's like, no, I'm going to try to, like, get in front so I can get back and watch Ludacris. But, yeah, I mean, I was all about it. You know, one girl I know, Bridget, was down on the field. I was jealous. I was envy and jealous of her of being down in the field. I'm like, crap, Bridget, like, I need to find a way to get down with you down on the field. So yeah, there were many luminaries in attendance: Anthony Edwards, Adrian Peterson, Roger Goodell. Nobody topped Ludacris. Ludacris was number one.
Did you guys see the fan who was screaming at Goodell was like, "Hey Goodell, fuck you!"
Yep.
And then Goodell did like this or something. Yeah, he was basically doing Portnoy's bit, but Goodell like was verbally or non-verbally
suck my dick or something, or he's doing an elephant thing. I don't know exactly what he was doing.
He clapped back, which is rare Goodell move, I guess.
But you are the NFL commissioner, aren't you? Supposed to, like, you are essentially the president of the league.
You gave tickets to someone with cancer earlier.
Yeah, and you just gave in to haters saying "fuck you." Now you look like a bigger clown. You literally, strengthen people's cases against you. Goodness gracious!
Did you see the prop bet? So there was a prop bet on one of the betting sites. One of my degenerate friends told me about it, that it was like it must have been plus. It had to be a positive money line. It was like plus 400 of Ludacris wearing like a Dalvin Cook jersey, plus 800 on a Kirk Cousins jersey, plus like 1,200 on a Danielle Hunter jersey, whatever it was.
Yeah.
He didn't even wear any jersey.
Yeah, the other guy on stage did.
Wore a Dalvin Cook jersey, so it was close, but he didn't wear a jersey.
Must not be a big Vikings guy.
Yeah, he's not a true fan, I guess.
I don't know, but usually they usually do wear the jersey of the team they're playing for, just because the hype the fans
or someone
up,
throws them one.
Yeah, exactly. That was a little surprised, but whatever.
But yeah.
I think it was good though. Like, get out of the way, bitch, right? Because of the audience, you're not going to say bitch.
Yeah,
right?
there's kids there.
There's just kids.
Get out the way.
And all that.
Yeah.
And
it was entertaining to say the least.
It was great though. Like, he's one of those artists where, like, going into them, I'm like, yeah, I know some songs by him, but there was a few that, like, I'm like, oh wow, he made this song. Like, all I do is win. I'm like, oh yeah, shit, Ludacris makes this song. How did I forget that? Because it came on as a surprise.
Maybe he jinxed it by singing that. But I also forget too that Ludacris is in the Fast and Furious movies. So every time I see him, at least the newer ones. So every time, it goes back to I think the second movie he's in. So every time I see him, I think of Fast and Furious, which is so bizarre considering how many bangers he has.
Yeah, he's aged very well. Yeah. He doesn't look that old, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's got what, 3 or 4 kids, probably, if not more. I mean, he's been married for a bit, hasn't he? I mean, was he in his mid-40s or so? He looked probably great.
Yeah.
And those Fast and Furious movies, by the way, are on all the time.
Right.
Whether it's HBO, TBS, TNT, like flip on the TV tonight or tomorrow. Guarantee you'll stumble into one, or FX, one of those channels.
They're classics.
Yeah.
And they somehow keep going.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. They got me glued.
Yeah.
Once I find them, yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of like jinxing, I don't know if Ludacris necessarily did that, but I was with Zane at the game, and when I saw Roger Goodell, I'm like, we might have lost this game. If we lose the game, it's because Roger Goodell is here.
He was ensuring the script played out the way he wrote it.
Yep, exactly. He was here to see exactly.
Well, I mean, Roger was probably in charge somewhat, right? Or let's just run with it.
Yeah.
Of them playing in a 325 window, right?
Yep.
Like, he could have given the Vikings, he could have had his fingerprints on giving the Vikings the noon kickoff on Sunday. We know how good Cousins is. The Vikings are in that noon window, right?
Yeah.
Even
the defense.
The noon nightmare.
325 window or the primetime window. Right, so like blame Goodell, right? Even if it wasn't necessarily his fault, it sounds great. So run with it. Goodell's fault that the game was at 325. And not
he ruined
noon.
it.
Exactly. We can bring
he limited the noon the new nightmare.
New nightmare.
Kirk Cousins drinking Gatorade out of the Gatorade cup, which I see him do on TV, and they didn't win, which I think is one of the first times that's ever happened where Kirk has been shown on TV drinking out of the Gatorade cup and they lose the game.
And it's playoffs. It's different than regular season. I think we should just unite all the Vikings fans together that are torn between, this is Kirk's fault. He should have threw that on 4th and 8. The defense was horrible. And just say, I blame Goodell.
Easy. Yeah, let's do it.
I think that would bring everybody together.
Yep.
We'll go with it. But, like, Jake, do you legitimately know people that are, like, really, like, seriously blaming Cousins for that loss?
Yeah. I mean, because I had a tweet.
Like, if there are people still to this minute as we talk here on Monday night, like,
it's
legitimately
probably still
blaming
happening.
Cousins.
I mean, I don't.
You have to be delusional.
I know. Like, I literally.
What?
I'm gonna search Kirk Cousins on Twitter.
So I put out a tweet.
Wow. Yeah,
the latest.
And
I'm not sure that's the greatest sample size to take the temperature of, but okay.
I will.
Sure, I guarantee you can find some tweeters, but like, if you really feel that way, seriously, like, you have to be as delusional as it gets.
Yeah.
Like, someone was just saying we should have a quarterback that's rolling out of the pocket and extending plays beyond just even that last play, and that would have made a difference, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's ridiculous how many people literally are saying a difference.
I saw someone last night who said, I just want a young, exciting QB, and someone responded under it and said, no, you don't. Like, you don't want a rookie in there right now who's running all over the place.
Well, you know, the way that this may play out is, you guys might know better than me, but what does Cousins have left on his current contract? Is it another year, another 2 years?
It's another year, because I think
but they always
season?
Yeah, so I think last March they signed him to
a year
extension. So he technically had 2 years coming into this year, so he has another year now, I think. Mm-hmm. But they always get
don't
a year
want
ahead
a player. Of that.
Yeah, they don't want a player going in on their last year of their contract usually.
Okay, so he's a free agent after the 24 season.
Yep. After this next season.
So he's under contract. He's under team control for 2 more years. I wonder if it plays out like this. He's their quarterback for the next 2 years. I don't know if they'll be able to do enough around him to go much further than right now. And they end up drafting a quarterback, not this year, but then the following year. So they target a quarterback high in the draft, April of 2024.
Yep.
And that guy would then be the guy moving forward.
Yeah, or
the contract just plays out.
Yeah, or
if the Vikings don't extend Kirk, because there's some people saying right now, and I get it, like, extend Kirk, let him be the guy. And hey, you can convince me of that. I just said, hey, they should find a way to make Kirk the quarterback until the day he retires. And I would think he's got another 4 to 5 years. These quarterbacks play deep into their 30s, even, in the case of some, until they're 39, 40, 41, or Brady 45, 46, whatever the heck he is at this point. But I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be shocked if the front office decides, okay, we'll roll with Cousins, but we're not extending him. Let's target a quarterback April of 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that would make sense. I think they'll do that regardless, even if there's like another hot quarterback on the market that's maybe around where Kirk Cousins' age was. I think he was like 29, 30 years old when we signed him in 5 years ago, because he's almost 35 now.
Yeah.
If there's another attractive option at that time, they might go with that, depending on where the team is at. If they're still at a point where, like, well, we still feel like we can win, but at that point, that's when a lot of our players are going to be aging.
Well,
so. And
the final thing I guess I wanted to ask you about the Vikings is there's a lot of people who are up on contract. Who do you think's in and who's out? Who goes, who stays? Just with early guesses. I know the season just ended yesterday.
Off a hunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with you guys putting me on the spot. And, hey, if you roll out the video here on March 20th and I end up being wrong, hey, so be it. Throw it in my face.
We will, because we want you to get hate from the people on Twitter because they're so smart.
Trust me,
Freezing cold takes.
I get plenty of hate already.
No.
Yeah. So, but if you guys want to pile on, hey, by all means, go for it. I would say right now, Adam Thielen, not a Viking.
Yeah.
Not a Viking. And I don't say that loosely. Like, the cap number is nearly $20 million, right? So you can't have Adam Thielen back in 23 on his current contract. So we're looking at either a restructure or an outright release. So if you're asking me one or the other, and hey, he was just Walter Payton Man of the Year, beloved, right? One of us, all that good stuff. I can't see a scenario where they cut ties on Adam. And Adam, my understanding, is not ready to retire. So I could see Adam somewhere else. All right? Let's keep going up and down the list. Okay, well, free agents, Dalvin Tomlinson, they would like him back. Garrett Bradbury, they would like him back. Patrick Peterson wants to be back badly. I'm not sure I see him back, although if he's willing to come back at 1 year, like $3.5, $4 million, I suppose you bring him back. So I can see multiple of those free agents back. Who else we got? Harrison Smith, he can't be back at nearly $20 million on the cap, right? So you're going to make a move there. Just logically speaking, they didn't sign him to his current contract. I think Kwesi gets it. You don't pay a safety that much money, right? So you make the move on Harrison Smith. Dalvin Cook, cap number next year, what, $14 million? So you need to rework that, but I suppose I can see him back on a restructured contract. I don't see him back on his current terms. Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. Who else are we looking at? I wish I had overthecap.com in front of me with the exact cap figures laid out. You know, the other thing they're going to do, I mean, they are going to approach Justin Jefferson on an extension. He is extension eligible this offseason. Now, typically guys don't get the extension after their third year. Like in recent memory, only Kyler Murray, after year 3, got the big money extension. Normally, teams wait until after year 4. But I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get something done with Jefferson now as opposed to waiting until March of 2024. So that'd be something else I would keep an eye on. But certainly Thielen, Smith, yeah, I'm not sure I see those guys here. I guess Kendricks is a bit of a wild card. And Danielle Hunter, like Danielle's a 4-3 defensive end. He's not a 3-4 outside linebacker. His sack yesterday, thankfully, came with his hand in the ground. I mean, that's how he needs to play. He shouldn't be standing up. Right, so I wonder if a trade, like you don't need to cut Danielle, you can get something decent for Danielle in a trade. I wonder if we see a Danielle Hunter trade in the near future.
Yeah, no, I think the Thielen drama this morning was crazy. Like his wife posting, this might be it in Minnesota. That threw everyone.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
was that on Instagram?
Yeah, she posted an
Caitlin?
Instagram story. I think she deleted it actually.
She might have.
I didn't see it, but I saw a lot of screenshots that basically just said like this might be it for us in Minnesota.
Yeah, thanks for everybody.
Okay,
thanks for all the love and
thanks.
support.
I wasn't aware of that, so thank you.
There's plenty of screenshots of Twitter on it. I couldn't find it on Instagram, but then again, like that was in the moment. Who knows? There's obviously a lot more that goes into it, but based on what you said, it makes a lot of sense that he goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I will tell you, when they redid his deal, back in whatever it was, February or March, the idea was to have him here 22 and 23. Then I thought, okay, he's going to maybe retire at that point, retire as a Viking, right off into the sunset. But, like, you can't bring him back with a cap number of $20 million. And I love Adam. I do,
right.
But, like, the separation isn't there anymore. Now, I think he was playing banged up for a good portion of the year. Just his knee, some other stuff. Like, I don't think he was 100%, like, October on, really. Like, early in the season, I think he got dinged up, never fully recovered, right? And I think he can help somebody else, like, red zone target, mentor. Like, there's a lot to like about Adam Thielen. But the numbers are what they are. Like, go to PFF or any other analytical website. He can't separate anymore. He's got zero separation ability, right? You can't pay him $20 million or whatever the actual money is, but you can't have him on the cap at $19.8 million. You just can't do it. Right. So that's why I'm sitting here telling you, right? Like, instead of a restructure, just time to move on. Like, they need a different second receiver. KJ Osborne, I think, is good, but he's not a number 2. I mean, that's why, to me, they're drafting, 22nd or 23rd in the first round? Okay, I get it if they go cornerback, or pass rusher. But I'd also keep an eye on wide receivers. They considered a wide receiver in the first round last year. Now, heck, they should have just stayed where they were and taken Kyle Hamilton, who was unreal for the Ravens right? They ended up taking a safety anyway with their first pick in Lewis Cine. They took the wrong safety. They should have taken Hamilton. And the book's not written on Cine. Cine might be able to bounce back from that, catastrophic injury. Still turned out to be a really good, productive player. But Kyle Hamilton was a stud at Notre Dame. He's been a stud so far with the Ravens. I'm not surprised. They should have just stayed at 12, taking Kyle Hamilton. But they were considering if, the Jets didn't take Garrett Wilson, if Garrett Wilson had fallen, they were heavily, heavily interested in Garrett Wilson. So the fact that they were looking at a wide receiver as early as the first round last April, I wouldn't rule that out at pick, I don't know if it's 22 or 23. It's one of the two. But in the first round this April, that if there's the right wide receiver, go get that guy. Because Kevin O'Connell wants to pass the ball, 60 to 65% of the time? No Vikings quarterback in the history of the franchise threw as many passes as Cousins did this year. So we know the balance at best is going to be 60-40, and that's why you can't pay Dalvin all that money, right? If Dalvin wants to come back and restructure, fine, but they pass the ball so much. It's a pass-first offense, a pass-heavy offense. You can't pay a running back big-time money, but you also need a second receiver. So I'd keep an eye on that position, if not in the first round, early come the April draft.
Well, are there any big-name wide receivers that are going to be free agents this offseason? Is it pretty limited?
Well, yeah, it is. I don't have the full list in front of me, but I did see somebody tweet out about a week or two ago a list. There's some, somewhat intriguing names, but nobody that's going to pop off the page. Plus, they still need to find a way to create all this cap space. Now, Rob Brzezinski is a cap wizard. They always find a way. So I have no doubt that they'll find a way again this time around. But, there's no receiver that jumps off the page at you saying, okay, that is the perfect number two to Jefferson. I'm curious to see, not that you would make a move on him, but Arizona's going to probably move DeAndre Hopkins, or maybe will, I guess. That would be a big receiver that's out there. But I don't see a scenario where the Vikings bring in DeAndre Hopkins, but there'll be some guys. But I would think, hey, if there's a guy in the draft, we see all these receivers in year one excelling. You can find a guy, identify a guy, and draft him either at 22, 23, or they don't have a second round pick, right? Because the Hawkinson trade, which is fine by me, great trade, but maybe with the third round pick, go receiver with one of your first two picks in April.
Yeah. Well, transitioning to a lighter note, the Wild, at least
for now,
a team that's surviving
for now,
that's still in it.
Yep.
The Boldy was a great re-sign today. I think 7 years, $49 million. Yes. You were at practice, and apparently the team did 49 stick taps. And if you were there to witness that, how long did that take them? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, knowing me, I was looking down at my phone a few times, so I didn't count the exact time. But yeah, it was a cool deal because with all the kids off from school, it was one of those fan practices. Open practices. And so the stands were filled at the tree rink there in downtown St. Paul. So yeah, it took a while, and it looked like Matt, I was obviously behind the glass, and I wasn't fully locked in, but I did take some pictures, so I'll show you proof.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can multitask here. I did take some pictures. He was thanking his teammates pretty good. So it was a bit. Yeah,
that's an awesome re-signing.
Yeah. Oh,
7 years is the sweet spot.
Beautiful. That was a good thing to wake up to after this Vikings loss. It was okay, we not only reminds you that we still have the Wild and they're doing okay. Inevitably, they could maybe still lose, but we have Matt Boldy here for 7 years.
Yep. I remember seeing you tweet that.
Yep.
And that was all the players circled up. So was that when they were doing the stick taps?
Yeah, that's when they were doing the stick taps. Yeah,
okay.
That's awesome.
I think I threw that on Insta. I'm trying to do more on Insta.
Yeah,
I don't have the following you guys do on Insta, but
we can help you.
We can help you out.
Yeah.
Do a couple story shares.
Yeah, please do.
A couple of tags.
You do. Although I did get a message. I don't know if it's legit or not. Somebody's saying I can be verified. Are you guys verified on Insta?
No,
we're not. And I'll tell you now, those are 99% of the time.
But is that
scams.
BS or is that legit?
But I do see a lot of news professionals like yourself verified all the time on Instagram. So you probably could. I don't know what
professionals used very loosely.
Well,
yeah,
come on.
But I guess I work for a news entity. So
yeah,
you are
so
legitimate.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, professional. And
you've been around a long time. You can get the check mark.
You are in the locker room. You're at the ice.
Yep.
You're the guy, at least in our minds. So you deserve the check mark.
All right. Well, okay. Well, then I'll respond to Instagram. But yeah, they were on the ice for a bit. And he got, a little bit emotional. Matt's not going to get overly emotional, but speaking with him in the locker room, Although he started laughing. He's like, yeah, I'm on the hook for dinner tonight. So I can only imagine where they're going to dinner tonight in D.C. before the game tomorrow night at Washington against the Capitals. I can only imagine that bill that Matt Boldy is about to pick up tonight.
I can't. I think I've seen one of the rookie dinner bills before, and it's actually insane how expensive. Because naturally they pick the most expensive place. Everyone's probably getting steak and lobster, a couple cocktails maybe. Everyone's gonna ball out if Boldy's paying, which he is now the $49 million man. So be it, make him pay. But yeah. Love
trust me, and as we're speaking with Matt, I didn't see what teammate it was. It wasn't Foligno. It was somebody on the other side of the locker room. Might have been Goligoski. Doesn't matter who it was. Might have been Mason Shaw. But anyway, just screaming out, $49 million man.
Yeah, I could hear that in the video. Yeah. That might have been Revo, honestly, based on the voice. Probably,
that might have been. It absolutely might have been. He's been a godsend in many ways.
Oh yeah.
Those guys love him. He loves them. That was one heck of a trade.
I hope he's not a rental. Yeah. It feels like it is based on just what I've heard, but
we'll just get rid of him in the offseason.
Yeah, I think like with getting rid of Delorier last year, like you got to hold on to one of those fighting characters because ever since Revo got on the ice, the Wild have been, I think, like 17-5 or so. Their record is nuts since.
It is something ridiculous.
That physicality.
I'd find a way to keep him, right? I think you're moving on from Jordan Greenway at some point here in the near future, right? So. If you move on from Greenway, you're right. You need one of those tough guys. I'd find a way to keep Ryan here for a while.
Mm-hmm. It seems like Foligno's kind of moved out of that role of being the fighter. He's kind of more of a skill player now, and that's where he wants to be. So let Revo do the fighting. That's fine.
Yeah, they're gonna be relevant for a bit here, though. Like, I don't know if they can jump, to 1 or 2 in the division, right? Surpass Dallas, Winnipeg. We're still waiting for Colorado to catch fire. Don't know if it will, but you kind of think at some point they may. But like the Wild are going to be relevant the rest of the way, right? And they certainly have a chance to make a run. One talking point in the locker room today was how good they are when leading after 2 periods. Yeah. So they don't have a loss this year. They're 17-0-1.
That's crazy.
Went up after 2 periods. So just find a way to get a lead heading into the 3rd period. Right? So that was a talking point with Foligno, with Marc-Andre Fleury, with Dean Evison.
Yeah.
They're good once they get the lead, so just find a way to maintain that lead heading into the 3rd period.
Yeah, just do that in the playoffs, too. I think we're sick and tired with the Wild, too. They've been a very good regular season team over the last decade, and then look at the Vikings. They are always able to come back and find a way to win in the regular season, but couldn't do it in the playoffs. We see that a lot with the Wild in the regular season.
Especially
just
last
do it in the
year,
playoffs.
The amount of crazy 3rd period overtime comebacks they made last year. You don't want to say the word fraud, but it had the same kind of feel. Like, when's the magic going to run out?
Exactly. These Minnesota teams just can't seem to replicate success in the playoffs, and I just wish they could.
Well, do you guys have the numbers? Somebody should do the numbers, the futility. Like, I'm about to turn 43. You guys are younger than me, but like in our lifetimes. Right? Like, what's the playoff record of these teams? Now, I guess in my lifetime, and I don't know if were you guys born in 91 for the Twins World Series?
Nope.
97, I was.
Born in 96.
All right. So, crap. Like, think about it from 96 or 97 on. Think about the Twins playoff record, the Wild's playoff record, the Wolves playoff record, and all the years of missing the playoffs, and the Vikings. And, no disrespect to the Lynx, right? All those championships, but to me, I look at it and say, okay, there's 12 teams in the WNBA. There's double that, more than double that in all the other leagues. So I'm not diminishing what the Lynx have accomplished. It's just, to me, it's apples and oranges when there's so few teams.
Yeah, well, and here's the crazy thing to think about. Like, I'm 25. You can see me. When I was 6 years old was the last time the Twins won a playoff game. And I'm now a fully grown man who lives independently from his parents for a while, has a job, all this. And like, I was a 6-year-old child the last time that team won a playoff game. And keep in mind, like, it's not like we had never made it. We had been in it for plenty of years, which is just that, like, looking at myself in the mirror just baffles me.
I was in diapers.
Yeah, Cam over here was in diapers. He's 22. What was that?
Are you still a finger painter? Are you still like?
You know what? There are probably some habits since then that haven't changed, but I've actually never been good at art, so I don't even know if I'm capable of doing finger paintings.
I'm not good either. Yeah.
But it's just, it is.
I'm a failure.
Well, yeah, we actually got to pull the numbers on that. If you take playoff games in maybe this century, we'll say, how many collectively Minnesota has won and lost. That number is going to make everyone want to cry.
Well, I've seen a lot of numbers circulating. This was brought up every year because we always are eliminated in the playoffs seemingly every year. But it was like since 1991, I think we've had a combined 121 consecutive seasons when you combine the Wild, Timberwolves, Twins, and Wild. You combine all of them. We've had 121 consecutive seasons without a championship. And then we've had, and then not only that, not even making a championship or a finals appearance. And they say the odds of that is like 0.0015%.
We're living
chance.
We're living in it.
Like
in
the
hell.
dude that
Yeah,
for
is
that to
there
happen.
any other major market?
No.
Market that has all four main professional sports. And if we want to debate MLS, fine, whatever. But I'm talking NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB. Is there any other market that even compares to this ineptitude?
I know, like,
I'm trying to think.
Detroit is pretty miserable. So I always say, like, at least Minnesota teams make it. Like, Detroit lately has not really been good at anything.
But the Pistons won in 05-06 the NBA
Sure,
championship.
okay.
The Tigers were in the World
Correct. And the Red
Series.
Wings
I
had a
guess.
decent run in the
I guess
Red Wings
I'm talking more recently, but
And you're focusing on the Lions specifically. Yeah,
the Lions,
But-
the Pistons, the Red Wings, and the Tigers combined as of lately has been rough.
But I think we're talking about but beyond the last decade,
Yeah.
the Minnesota market
Right.
has just been how they can't because the Pistons and Tigers they at least have had a couple good teams in the last 20 years. The Twins can't and no Minnesota teams can make a run decade after decade. It's not even just year after year. It's just decade after decade of just misery.
It sucks.
Well, trust me. I mean, I get into many back and forths with the best man for my wedding. He works for the Red Sox, right? So he's out in Boston. He's got multiple World Series rings, right? And he's bitching about, the Celtics last year not finding a way to win the finals, right? They make it all the way to the finals, and Curry goes off, and Tatum was so good, and the Celtics had this miraculous season, and and he's complaining like, "Hey, we should have won it." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Wouldn't that be great to live
come on.
in a championship or bust type market?
Yeah.
Not like let's just win one fucking playoff game. It's sad that the expectations are that, but it is, or one series.
One series
And that's all we wanted with the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
Like, just find a way to beat the Giants. We could have accepted losing to the Niners, although I'm still not over the New Year's Day loss at Green Bay not even showing up in that game, because I still thought entering that game, the 2 seed was realistic. Like, so to me, I thought, hey, if you're going to lose to the Niners, at least lose to them at US Bank Stadium. Have them come to you, right? Have the rookie quarterback come to you, your stadium, right? So I'm still upset about the New Year's Day loss, but like, I would have been okay. Like, I would have understood, okay, like the Vikings just aren't up to the Niners, but 13 wins, raise the bar, year one of the new regime. Like, kumbaya, everything is fine, right? Like, celebrate the one playoff win. So now, like, my bar for that was much higher. Same thing with the Wolves, right? Even after they go all in on Gobert, I'm thinking, like, just find a way to win a playoff series, get to the second round. Yeah, at some point with Gobert, you probably need to make a run to the Western Conference Finals, maybe even an appearance in the NBA Finals. But for now, like in the next 2 years, just advance past the first round for the first time in forever.
Yeah.
Right? Same with the Wild. Just make a run to the second round again, which we've seen, but like get
twice.
to the second round again. It's
I
been a
think,
little bit.
you know what, this is
Right? And
crazy.
with the Twins just win a playoff game.
Yeah,
We're not even saying series. Don't get swept. Right? Especially after the last 2 years. Just get back to the playoffs, win a game in the postseason. That's all we're asking. The bar's not real high.
Yeah. Well, really quick, going back to the Wild, do you think Billy G makes any moves prior to the deadline? You think?
Yeah, I mean, Trader Billy. Yeah, I mean, you guys know him better than I do.
It's Billy G.
You guys are tight with him, but yeah, I mean, I think something is coming. Now, if they move Dumba, it's going to be a hockey trade. You're not like going to sell off Matt Dumba, because if you move Dumba, you need to bring in a different defenseman. I know that Goligoski's a healthy scratch, but there's a reason for that at this point. So you're not going to trade Dumba and then make Goligoski a top 4 D-man, right? Like, Dumba, with all his warts, is still a top 4 defenseman for this team. So if you're moving Dumba, who clearly has received interest, right? I mean, it's been out there that Edmonton, Ottawa, some other teams have kicked the tires on Dumba. But if you're moving Dumba, you better bring back a pretty good D-man in return. I think the top 6 forwards are pretty well set. So if you're bringing in a forward, it's probably a third or fourth liner. But yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised, right? And Brock Faber could still enter into the equation. I just think the Gophers are going to the Frozen Four. So, I mean, I think Brock Faber is going to be a Gopher until the second or third week of April, right? But Brock Faber can still enter the equation at some point. So maybe that would be the guy. Like Brock Faber is going to be really good. All my Gophers friends tell me that kid's going to be a top 4 NHL defenseman. Just give it a little bit of time. But Brock Faber's the real deal, right? So you could go that route, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I think just to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I will be surprised if Billy just sits on his hands. I don't think that's in his DNA.
It's not. No. He wants to make moves.
He's Billy Gambles. That's his identity.
And especially for the Wild too, like I feel like they've done the experiment of the rental players where they've been in this position countless times in the last 10 years where they're making a run for the playoffs, even the division. Like, okay, let's bring in a couple guys here to like boost the team and stuff like that. But I feel like Billy G's been a little bit more spot on than a Paul Fenton or definitely a Chuck Fletcher. I mean, we saw some horrible Chuck Fletcher fucking trade deadlines. God, I wrote a whole fucking paper on it in college about his bad trades. I'll tell you what, though. Shit,
Fenton was pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was a knucklehead off the ice or away from, the office. Well, maybe not so much away from the office. In the office, he was a knucklehead, too. But in terms of the moves he made, right, there were a bunch of good moves by Paul Fenton in that limited time. But, yeah, Billy is A+. He's money. And so... you look at their cap situation. I mean, I imagine, the trade they make will be for a pending free agent, right? It's the same situation that Dumba's in. You're going to trade for somebody that is a UFA this summer. But, like, they have a great minor league system. I mean, by all measures, right? I mean, whether it's Hockey News or, you pick the publication you want, they have a top 10 farm system, right? So they got some guys, right? And they have their draft pick capital. It's not like they're down draft picks. So if you want to trade a draft pick or first-round pick this year or whenever, fine, go ahead. Or, trade from your farm system. But they have, heck, it might even be higher than that. It might be in the 5 to 10 range, right? It might be closer to 5 than it is to 10. It's a really good minor league system. So, Billy should trade some of those guys, bring in a pending UFA that can help these guys, maybe make a run to the Western Conference Finals or even further. Why not? Right? I mean, you got one of the 5 best players in the game. You've got a superstar in Kirill. Like, ride the wave as long as you can with Kirill.
Goaltending's been incredible, too. Yeah. Like, look at Gustafson. I think he is, and I think I read this in The Athletic from Joe that literally Gustafson is, like, Billy G's biggest surprise this year. I think he's the entire fan base's surprise. I mean, we knew he didn't really get a lot of playing time in Ottawa, so he was always a question mark. But originally, when people said Talbot for Gustafson, everyone's like, "Uh-oh, like that's not good."
Yeah.
And he's been an all-star ever since. You know, those first 4 games for the Wild in general. Let's just throw those out of the equation because that was an absolute disaster. Yeah. But since then, like Gustafson and Fleury have both just been incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, I spoke with Fleury today about just feeling like he's finally home, right? And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, maybe going back a few weeks, but certainly not going back to." The trade at the deadline, last year or even in the summer when he, immediately re-signed, feeling like this is truly home. But, Mark was telling me, hey, finally I'm to that point where I feel like Minnesota is really home. And on, Gustafson, like Billy, I don't know if he said it at the press conference on Saturday. So he got a bunch of different requests for some interviews. So he said, instead of doing 6 different one-on-one interviews, let me just go to the podium. I'll do a state of the team at the halfway point of the season. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was the press conference on Saturday because I wasn't there. We did have some representation, but I personally wasn't there. Or he did talk to Joe Smith from The Athletic afterwards. But yeah, I saw it in The Athletic as well that, that is Billy's number 1 surprise of the year. Just Phillips' unreal play. Now, I could make a case for, the impact that Reeves has had. I mean, you laid out the numbers, right? I mean, the record since Reeves came in. So, I mean, I can make a case for Reeves, right? But, and maybe even Sam Steele, right? I mean, he was a big question mark heading into the year. He's established himself as their number 1 center, right? So, I mean, I could nitpick a little bit, but, like, I'm not going to debate Billy on if he's saying his biggest surprise is Gustafson. Yeah, count me on board, right? Mm-hmm. I get it. Because, he was pretty much a nobody in Ottawa. Yeah. Who knew that supporting cast matters? Those playing in front of you matter. Who knew that, right? But he's also made some really nice saves.
Yeah, well, yeah. Think about just having Fleury, having a future Hall of Famer being like the guy like that. Fleury could make make me a good goalie if he really wanted to.
And he knows what it takes. He's been to the Cup, won a Cup, obviously with Pittsburgh and all that, and he just knows what it takes. just as a goalie. And we've seen, of course, hockey is a very big team sport, but we've seen on every year, the teams that make the run have just the hot goaltending. It's just, and that's just what it takes. Jordan Binnington, the rookie, when they won it with the Blues, he just fucking went off as the rookie goaltender.
Went off against us last year.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. For no reason, but it happens,
Yeah, after he went off the other way, right? Like he fell off the rails for a long stretch, then regained it, specifically, you're right, in the playoffs against the Wild. Yeah, I mean, I hope Fleury's around long enough to have a nice impact on the youngster, the Swedish kid. From
Jesper Wallstedt.
Wallstedt.
He's given up
down in Iowa. Like I want Fleury to have like a nice, profound impact on Wallstedt.
That kid's a future Vezina. I'm saying it now. I think in his last 4 games there. How old is he, by the way? Is he like 18, 19? He's really young.
19, 20.
Yeah, I saw a stat. I think this was last week, but like in his last 4 games, he was averaging less than a goal a game given up, and then he had his first shutout, I believe, like last Thursday. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that era.
Franchise goalie, hopefully.
He'll be ready right when those buyouts are over and it's all going to come together. This is like so typical Minnesota sports, but man, you give the Wild like 4 or 5 years.
Well, the future is very bright for them.
You are going to see us, you're going to see us in the Cup. That's it.
I like this. I mean, I'm more a hoops guy than a hockey guy, but like the hockey guys are the best guys to deal with, bar none. I mean, doing this now 25 years, it's not even close. Like the best athletes, the best people to deal with are hockey folks. So I'll have to catch up with my guy, either Micheletti. I know Pat goes down to Iowa to help with some broadcasting, or I believe Ben Gislason is still doing the play-by-play for the Iowa Wild. I used to work with his dad, Eric, at Channel 5 way back when, so maybe I can connect with Ben, get a lowdown on how good those Iowa Wild guys are.
I mean, you have Sammy Walker still down there. You have Marco Rossi still down there. Like, it's insane. Like you said,
Marco's been good too, right?
System.
I haven't looked at the numbers lately, but Marco's been pretty good, right?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it much either. I at least know.
I heard he's been doing well. Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but that's good for him because I think he just needed a little bit of a reset. He might have been a little quick for him, and but he's gonna be good. He'll pan out.
Yeah,
hopefully.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they're in good shape. They really are. I mean, even after the buyouts, and the buyouts are still going to impact them for a couple years here, right? In terms of the cap, I mean, they're still well positioned. I mean, I'm telling you, like. I'll be disappointed if we're talking about another first-round exit.
I know.
Put it that way.
Yeah.
Even if they have to start on the road, right? Like, just find a way. Steal one on the road, regain home ice advantage, come back, tied at 1 in Game 3, win Game 3, win Game 4, win the series in 6, move on to the second round. Like, I'll be disappointed. I think this roster is good enough. And those who know infinitely more about hockey than I do tell me that, too. Like, I've yet to hear anybody tell me, not sure about this Wild team. Like, Mike Gensel's a good buddy. The former Gophers assistant coach. He's now a scout with the Arizona Coyotes. So he watches the Wild. It's in his region here. So he watches the Wild a lot. Like, he tells me all the time, this Wild team is really, really good. So, like, if we're talking, like, on April 30th about another early exit, like, I mean, I don't know if it'll match the disappointment I'm feeling today about the Vikings, but crap, it'll be close. It will be. They have to win a playoff series.
I will say, other than, like, the 2010 Vikings Saints game, I was very depressed about that. I think in the last 10 years, between the Vikings playoff losses, like whether it was this year, a couple years ago against the 49ers, the NFC Championship game, I think I've been more depressed after the first round exits with the Wild over the last 10 years. Just because,
especially last year.
Last year, I was very depressed after I think it was the 2017 series. I think it was the 16-17 season against the Blues. That was the year where we were peak Preezy, Suter, Granlund years, where we went in there. We were playing Jake Allen and Brian Elliott, who are the goalies
who
of St.
are both
Louis.
Still in the league.
Yeah,
hilariously on other teams.
And the Wild had home ice advantage. They almost won the division. They were second place. That was like the peak year, and they lost that series 4-2. I was depressed. I was depressed for a month. I was just sick to my stomach because I thought that was the team that was going to make the run. And last year still hurt, but they still had some young players. We're like, okay, well, it just sucks. But I've been more hurt.
No, I get it. I mean, I appreciate the passion, right? I mean,
Like,
I know you guys aren't going to become apathetic anytime soon, but keep being as passionate as you are, right? I mean, I'm still in the realm of rooting for storylines versus just the team itself. Mm-hmm. But like, you get to know so many people that work for these teams. You want to root for their well-being, right? So the further a team goes, the better off, their professional livelihood is, right? So you can't help but root for some of these teams. Like I was upset, going back to April, we decided at Channel 5 we were only going to travel if the Wolves were in a position to clinch a series. So we did not go to Memphis for games 1, 2, or 5.
Yep.
All the Wolves had to do was find a way to win game 6 at home, force a game 7. I would have been on an airplane the next morning to cover a game 7 in Memphis, which would have been fantastic, right? And the Wolves laid an egg, right? I mean, they were in a position to win, and heck, multiple times in that series blowing, multiple 20-point leads, right? So they should have won that series, and they couldn't even force a 7th game. So, I mean, I can relate, right? It's different for me, but like I was pissed off. Like I was all set to head to Memphis the next morning, and the plans got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean we're like not the best at being Wolves fans because the NBA can just be
we're trying, but it's hard. It's hard.
I get it. Well,
yeah,
but
I'll tell you, like from a game presentation standpoint. So I took my younger son and my father-in-law to the Wild game mid-December against the Blackhawks.
The Friday night game.
I took my same son and my wife to the Wolves game a couple weeks ago against the Nuggets. And I just asked my 8-year-old, I said, hey, where did you have more fun? And let me tell you, he plays basketball. Like he plays traveling basketball. He doesn't play hockey. He has no interest in skating. Just hockey doesn't interest him, although he likes physical contact. So I think he's going to be more a football player than anything. But he told me, not even close, he had way more fun at the Wild game. Just in terms of game presentation, entertainment value, not to diminish what the Wolves offer. Like if you like basketball, yes, go watch the best players in the world. Trust me, I had a blast going to that Nuggets game. Don't get me wrong, but just from a game presentation standpoint, the casual fan, I think you get a better experience at the X watching hockey than you do at Target Center watching NBA ball.
And credit to the Wild, they have done a great job to up the atmosphere. I know they upgraded their sound system in the offseason. They're doing a lot more stuff with lasers now, which I'm all about. I'm pro laser.
Yeah, the pregame laser presentation is fantastic.
Yeah, one of my buddies who actually works for the Wild, we were out in Vegas in March, and we went to a Knights game, and I texted him, and I'm like, I'm just now realizing how much more the Wild need to do for pregame atmosphere. And he goes, oh, trust me, it's the top of the list, and they delivered this year.
Nice.
I will say it's not necessarily I think every NHL team in comparison to the Vegas, like I was at the Caps game.
Yeah.
It didn't even compare to the Wild's pregame even last year.
Right.
They're lacking. I mean, that was still fun being there. It's just a different kind of atmosphere being in Washington for a hockey game versus Minnesota. But I think in comparison, Vegas they put on a show because it's Vegas. But teams definitely, I think, do need to up to that because that created from before the game all the way through after. It
gets the fans buzzing. Fans are electric.
It's not just the game. It's pregame and everything.
Yeah, no, it's the whole thing. The PA announcer for the Vegas Golden Knights is a guy named Bruce, who filled in before Big Voice guy took over the Vikings gig. But Bruce is a Minnesotan, so we're friends on Facebook and all that, and so he posts all sorts of stuff all the time about just the game presentation with the Golden Knights. That's on the bucket list, I would say. I haven't been to Vegas for a few years, but next time I'm in Vegas, I'm making it a point to go check out T-Mobile Arena, go check out the Golden Knights.
I think they had a guy in silver armor and a guy in gold armor on skates, like legitimately sword fighting in center ice, and it was the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie,
it was so cool.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, really quick, just hitting on the Wolves, we mentioned we're trying to be bigger Wolves guys, and I think it's going to be a lot easier now that the Vikings are done. But give us the Cliff Notes version on the Wolves season so far. I know there's been some cat injuries, some disappointment with Gobert, but where are we at? 500, I think?
They lost today, so they're a game under now, but they're sitting around it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've won 6 of their last 8. So, today was disappointing. Jaden McDaniels had a clean look for the win. Anthony Edwards made the right basketball play. To me, I would have preferred if a different three-point shooter was in the corner, or maybe Ant could have taken the shot. But truthfully, Ant made the right decision. Pass to the open man. Jaden had a wide-open look. He missed it. The Wolves lost by a point. It didn't help that they had 3 technicals during the game. Technicals have been an issue all year. It's unfortunate you lose by 1 point after, Utah was awarded 3 technical free throws. But they've been a lot better of late. They had a 6-game losing streak, but since then, they've been a lot better. Effort still is an issue at times. They have 2 losses to Detroit. That can't happen. The Pistons stink. The Pistons want to be the worst team in the league to up their lottery chances for this next draft. Like, you can't lose to Detroit the way they lost. And I get it if you lose once and effort was great. Like, the effort in those two games stunk. They've had some other effort issues, but they're good in the half court, offensively and defensively. They get in trouble when, teams leak out. The Wolves are not a great rebounding team. Even with Rudy Gobert, they're not a great rebounding team. So if a team gets a rebound and then pushes the ball and gets out in transition, the Wolves can struggle in that regard. But, like, they're pretty good. Like, I don't know if they're going to finish top 4 in the Western Conference. That was the preseason goal, whether it was publicly stated or not. The idea was, hey, let's finish top 4 in the Western Conference, thus gaining home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs, something they didn't have last April. I don't think they get as high as 4, but I think they can get as high as maybe even 5, maybe more so 6. Like, if you're in the 7 to 10 range, you're in the play-in tournament, so you're not guaranteed a playoff spot. If you finish 5 or 6, you're guaranteed to be in the playoffs. I think they can get as high as 5 or 6. D'Angelo Russell has been a lot better the last 6 weeks. He's having his best shooting year. He's in a contract year, so he's uber motivated. But D'Angelo Russell is shooting the ball really well. Anthony Edwards, we saw it last year with Ja Morant in Memphis. Like, these superstars take this leap. Like, if you're going to be a true superstar, you oftentimes take your big leap year 2 to year 3. Well, guess what? Anthony Edwards is doing that. He's been phenomenal. Started off a little sluggish, but I would say the last 25-ish games, he's been as good as almost any player in the league. That's not hyperbole. Like, yeah, a couple players better, don't get me wrong, but, like, absolutely belongs on the All-Star roster. Like, he should be an All-Star. Don't know if he will be, but to me, he should be an All-Star. The Rudy Gobert trade, unfortunately, has been a disaster, right? Like, Walker Kessler today was the best player on the floor for Utah, one of them, right? That's the rookie the Wolves drafted, and they traded to Utah in the Gobert trade. Malik Beasley hit a big 3 with about 3.5 minutes left, right? And, you look at these former Wolves, Jared Vanderbilt played well too after a slow start. So Vanderbilt, Beasley, Kessler all played well today. Utah beats the Wolves. So that's a gut punch, right? I mean, that's unfortunate. But the Wolves have been a lot better the last few weeks. Like, I thought at one point Chris Finch, the head coach, might be in trouble. Don't think he's in trouble anymore. Not that the owner, Glenn Taylor, was going to cut him a big fat check to go away, but it was something at least on my radar. It's not necessarily on my radar anymore. So, the schedule is somewhat favorable the rest of the month. Like, they're a good home team. They still have some home games the rest of the way here. Then they're going to hit the road for a bit after that. So, the schedule overall is not easy the rest of the way. They have some tough opponents, but at least you get some of those tough opponents at Target Center. So, to me, find a way to keep winning at home. Wednesday will be tough. At Denver, like, Denver is eager to get to that game after Denver came here a couple Mondays ago and got spanked. Even though Denver was playing the second game of back-to-back, didn't get in until 4 a.m. No excuses. The Wolves took advantage. Denver was tired. But Denver wants to see the Wolves badly on Wednesday. Then the Wolves play Toronto at home on Thursday. So, like, even if you trip up Wednesday, win Thursday. You got the Rockets here this weekend. So win Thursday, win Saturday. If it ends up being a 2-2 week, right, win 2, lose 2, that's okay. The Western Conference, outside of Memphis and Denver, nobody's really creating any separation. I mean, teams 3 to 11-ish are, like, within 3 to 4 games of each other. So, like, you can't go on one of these 6-game losing streaks again, right? The Wolves had their 1 6-game losing streak. You can't do that again. I don't think they will. But I think they have a chance, certainly to make some noise in the playoffs. It'll just be tough. If they're like the 5 or the 6 seed, if they don't have home court, it'll probably be tough to advance. But I think they do make the playoffs. Like, 3-4 weeks ago, people were saying they're heading to the lottery. Crap. Utah has their first-round pick. Like, watch the Wolves win the lottery and the pick conveys to the Utah Jazz. The Wolves, I would be shocked. Again, you can track down this video here in 2.5 months if I end up being wrong. But, like, I'd be shocked if the Wolves miss the playoffs. So I see them in the playoffs. They just got to find a way to tighten up the transition defense. They got to find a way to rebound better. And they miss some guys. I mean, every team is dealing with injuries in some form, but, Cat will be back at some point, maybe more so February, not January, but he'll be back. How does that work? That marriage with Rudy Gobert, we're still trying to figure that out, but how does Cat play once he's back from this extended absence with the calf injury? It'd be nice to have backup point guard Jordan McLaughlin back, but he's still going to be out weeks. But Taurean Prince is now back from a shoulder injury. He was out 20 games. He's a difference maker. He's good. Kyle Anderson has missed some games with back spasms, with an illness. He had a triple-double today. Kyle Anderson was an excellent free agent addition. So as long as they can stay like somewhat healthy, they should be in the playoffs. So like if you want to pay attention, go for it, because they're not, put it this way, they're not a train wreck.
Okay, that's the positive.
The Timberwolves are not a train wreck. We're making progress. But, I mean, yeah, they're projecting on the up and up right now, so hopefully they can keep that up. And I'd like to see them. I mean, I was definitely invested when they were in the playoffs last year. I was watching them.
It was fun.
You know, there's I definitely still have this, fandom for the Wolves. Growing up watching Kevin Garnett, they just haven't been able to replicate anything since 2004. Mm-hmm. And they're finally,
this is a bandwagon town, right? Like, when the Wolves are in the playoffs, Target Center is buzzing. It's a fantastic atmosphere. Games, 3, 4, and 6. I mean, I was at those games in April. Those were, it was great, right? I mean, this very much is a basketball town. I get it, state of hockey, which is also a marketing slogan, but statewide, I get it. The hockey interest is insane. But like in the metro area, I truly believe this. You guys can tell me I'm full of shit if you want to, but like to me, there are more basketball fans in the metro area than there are hockey fans.
You're full of shit.
On the Wolves,
just joking.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just joking. No, I believe it,
hey,
honestly.
Trust me. At the tree rink today, there were a couple thousand people, or whatever the capacity is. Maybe it's less than that. But trust me, like seeing that, right? I ran into a girl I went to high school with. She had her boys there. Like they were so pumped up in their Kaprizov jerseys and all that. Like I get it, right? You go to any hockey rink on any weekend. I mean, it's standing room only. I understand that, but there's also a ton of basketball fans, and I know it just looking at TV ratings and radio ratings and, clicks, on stories and stuff like that. There's different ways to quantify interest. I think there's more basketball fans in the Metro than there are hockey fans, but it's on the Wolves. Like right now, you would say there's more interest in the Wild, and I get it. TV ratings are probably better. I haven't looked in the last month or so, but I bet the Wild are doing better than the Wolves. Yeah. The Wolves, if you go to Target Center, I mean, there's a lot of empty seats. You don't see a ton of empty seats at the X. Some, but not many. So I understand it, but I think overall there are more basketball fans. But it's on the Wolves to capture those people. Yeah, so they have a chance, but there's still a ways to go.
Well, they're not doing that great this year. They just got killed by 22. I just saw to Illinois. But when Gopher basketball is doing well, too, the state seems to rally around them pretty well as well too. Like I watch almost every game,
Well, that's our school. I mean, me too. And heck, I think the best place in town when it's rocking, my favorite place in town to watch a game is Williams Arena, right? And again, you can say you're full of shit or what the hell are you talking about, but like I love Williams Arena when it's rocking.
Yeah.
And the win in Columbus last week was encouraging. Yeah, I saw that they were down double digits. I didn't see the final score. But they're building something. If they can find a way to convince Dawson Garcia to come back next year, Jameson Battle to come back, and you bring in these two recruits, Dennis Evans and Max Christie's brother, Cam Christie, I think they have a chance to be and they're not going to win the Big Ten, probably not even finish top 4 in the Big Ten. But like to me, they can make a leap from bottom 2 in the Big Ten to upper half of the Big Ten if they can get all these kids to come back next year.
Yeah. Well, one last question. I think probably we're going to go into the rapid fire here pretty quick here. But one last question. Who's more likely to make the Final Four? Go for basketball, go for hockey.
Well, one of those fours is frozen, though.
Yeah, frozen four.
Yeah,
so
I'm already making plans.
The national semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, the hockey team should win the national championship.
I'm hoping.
Logan Cooley and my guy Jimmy Snuggerud. Yeah, trust me, I'm already making plans, whether I'm working at the station that weekend or in Tampa that weekend in April. I'm already making plans to work that weekend of the Frozen Four. I mean, the Gophers are that good. It would be a major upset if they don't at least make it to the national semifinals.
I was saying, speaking of getting your hopes up, I definitely have high hopes on them, but you're making plans to literally go down there to the site of the game. But
I mean, we'll travel one way or another. Right. So whether it's Schmidt or Long in my office or me, one of us is going to go down there and cover it. Then somebody else will have to cover some shifts back here. So I need to plan as if I'm working that weekend, one way or another. Heck, for you guys should head down to Dinkytown. Trust me, you guys were, 6, 7, 8 years old at the time, but 02, 03, when I was in my partying prime, I can vividly recall taking a a gas, they were spraying the tear gas. I took a canister off my freaking back of the leg trying to run away from the cops. Those were good times. I miss those days. Life was a lot easier.
The Dinkytown
I
riots.
vividly remember,
in 2013,
I remember the Dinkytown rioting. Yeah, I remember in 2013 there was some stuff.
We didn't even win, but 02-03
was wild.
Because they actually won. Well, I went down to the U to watch the game in the Frozen Four last year when we lost to Mankato, unfortunately. But it was unbelievable atmosphere, and I'm like, I can't imagine if we were in the NCAA, the national championship game, it would just be unreal. So I just hope to see it because they're like the one team I'm kind of banking on, including the professional teams, to like, okay, can you just win something? Like we all look at the Wild Vikings, we're like, okay, come on, we kind of look at Gopher hockey, like, okay, can you win a championship here? Like, come on.
They probably have the best chance of all the teams right now by
not even close.
When you include college,
by a long shot, probably
for sure.
And they have stud recruits coming in year after year, but like Logan Cooley is in a class by himself, and he's a one and done. So you'd hate to waste his 1 year. Not that you're going to waste it, but like to me, win it all. Like even losing in the national championship game would be a disappointment with this roster. This roster is so loaded. They should be playing that last weekend, that Saturday night, whatever it is, April 8th, April 9th, whatever that Saturday is, in Tampa for the national championship.
Did who drafted Logan Cooley again?
Arizona.
Used to be
the
Coyotes.
third pick. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're gonna
future hockey talent, especially if they get Bedard.
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're probably not all that far away. I mean, that was a weird game on Saturday that the Wild had to find a way to win, and thankfully they did. But
they have young talent.
Played well on Saturday, but if you somehow get Bedard and you got Cooley coming, and they're not. I don't think they're all that far away. Again, my buddy Gensel is a scout for the Coyotes, so he tells me he doesn't feel like they're that far away. Might still be 2 years, not 1 year, but eventually here Arizona is going to pop.
Right in time for them to get out of the college hockey arena.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Although I heard weirdly, I guess people were saying like weirdly, like the atmosphere is like popping in there.
Well, so
it's so condensed.
I thought about this. I was I wouldn't hate that. Like, imagine if the worst seat in the house is like 30 rows up. That's not a bad scenario.
Come to think of it, it's kind of embarrassing for an NHL team. They probably shouldn't be in there for very much longer. But for the year, if you're kind of like, it looks like it's kind of a unique. I heard it's unique because it's more. You're right there. You're closer.
Everything's a little more close.
Central.
Yeah, closely knit.
You're not dealing with all the people. It's a different way to watch a professional sporting event. But they definitely.
Now, is it better for the visitors? Do they still have like that makeshift locker room? Have they fixed that at least?
I've seen that.
See, I haven't heard anything. I thought I heard something that was temporary, but I could be wrong.
Well, let's hope
that
so.
sucks.
Yeah.
But that still sucked, even if it was temporary. Like, why are you doing that in a professional like that? When I heard about that, I saw a video. I'm like, what is this, like a small barn ice rink in northern Minnesota? Because that's the kind of shit I remember doing when I was a kid.
Just put your shit on in the parking lot.
Yeah,
that's what
in the parking lot, or like the makeshift locker room outside in the cold. It's like that's what it reminded me of. I mean, it's Arizona, but still.
Yeah,
goodness.
Exactly.
No, I know.
It's a Squirt B tournament down there.
I hope they fix that. Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh, sweet. Well, Doogie, this has been a blast. Before we let you go, we got to do a signature thing here called the rapid fire. It's just going to be 10 questions.
Yeah, go for
it.
Yeah.
Answer them. All right. First one, you're on a deserted island. You get one drink of choice for the rest of your time on the island, which is eternity. What are you having?
Gin and tonic.
All right. How many fourth graders could you fend off in self-defense?
How big are the fourth graders?
I'm
telling you,
default.
My younger
default.
son he's a third grader who plays fourth grade basketball.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked at the size of some of these fourth graders. I'm 5'9.5", 5'10" on a good day. If I'm wearing the right shoes, maybe 5'11".
Yeah.
I weigh way too much, so I'm a good 245, 250 right now. But like 3 or 4 of these fourth graders would kick my ass.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Maybe 2.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's
a reasonable.
That's a realistic answer.
Yeah.
Some people say like an entire fucking classroom, which if you think about it, is
No,
nuts.
That's insane.
Unless you're like
they would kick my
unless you're
ass.
like a
Yeah.
pro linebacker,
Yeah.
like Ben Lieber, whatever, someone like that.
Well, you got through that through like conductive reasoning. You thought through it, so
yes,
that makes sense. Some people would just
you
spit out
thought-
a number.
They're
You
just
thought
like
through
they're
it.
kids, so you
Yep.
kick all their asses.
Yep.
It's like nope,
think
you got
through
to
it.
think it out. Minneapolis or St. Paul, which one do you like better?
I went to high school in St. Paul. I live in Minneapolis now, suburbs, but give me Minneapolis.
Okay. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Would you rather slap a random baby or your own grandma?
God,
My grandma.
okay, there we go.
If you were given an all-expenses-paid trip to Edmonton, would you take it?
I would take it, yeah.
If your laptop could speak, what would it say?
I would say stop looking at all this porn. No, porn on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens when you're married.
Yeah.
I'm married now since 2009.
At least you said it
That's what
right, though,
happens.
because
right.
I always say psychopaths watch porn on their laptop.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
It would probably say stop being obsessed with Twitter. Stop
Yeah.
looking at your notifications. Nothing good can come from it.
Yep.
Right. What's the worst fast food place, in your opinion?
White Castle.
Yep. Common answer.
Good answer.
If a movie was made about your life, who would play you?
Well, I mean, I'd love to tell you Brad Pitt, but probably like Joe Pesci or somebody like that.
Oh, Pesci.
nice.
That's a good one, though. Yeah.
We need to start.
He was a tough guy in the 90s.
We need to screenwrite a screenplay or something and get that set up.
Yep.
Send to Hollywood.
He can maybe
Get it
break
going
the F-bomb record for the
Yeah.
most in one movie.
Let's go.
Maybe Jonah Hill.
Yeah, that one.
I can see that.
He's a good guy too.
Yeah.
Give us your strike 3 call.
Ooh. Gosh, that one I got to think about. Like,
What's your
how
style?
loud would I be?
There's different
Like, would
styles.
I just
Right.
be like, strike 3. I don't know. Crap. I got to give you an answer. So it'd probably be like something like, strike 3.
There you
Something
go.
like that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
You could tell
I mean,
that
I'd
was
be
loud.
loud. I mean, I'm loud
Yeah.
by nature.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I couldn't be timid in that situation. So yeah, I mean I'd go loud, but I don't know if I'd like, would I just verbalize it? Would
Right.
I don't know what I do with my arms and my hands and all that, but I definitely would be loud.
It's definitely more of an art than a science, in my opinion.
It is.
For sure.
It
But
is.
Yeah, Doogie, thanks so much for joining us, letting us pick your brain on kind of the Minnesota sports landscape. Where can the people find you, and when are you on TV?
Well, I'm on TV whenever they're desperate enough to put me on. I'll be on TV next. I don't have any anchoring shifts coming up. I mean, if you watch Channel 5, you'll see me enough. We do something on Sunday nights. We'll be back next Sunday night doing a bunch on the Vikings, post-mortem. Some of the questions you guys asked me, Thielen and Harrison Smith. We'll do a deeper dive on what's to come March, April, May, June, July, heading into next year. So certainly Sunday night, I do some stuff with Score North. You can find me on YouTube with those guys or anywhere you find your podcasts. I joined Judd Zolgad, Phil Mackey Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do my own podcast called The Scoop. Did a new one over the weekend. Nice long conversation with former Twins catcher Chris Jimenez. He's now an MLB Network host. So he opines on what could be next for the Twins, Carlos Correa. So that was a fun conversation. I just recently spoke with a bunch of these new Gopher football players, Ryan Seelig, Elijah Spencer. So if you want to get to know some of these new Gopher football players, just find my podcast wherever you find podcasts. Then on social media, Twitter mostly, D Wolfson, KSTP. I'm also trying to be more active on Instagram. I think it's at Doogie Wolfson, but I have to double check that. But if you do a search of Wolfson, my last name, you should be able to find me on Instagram.
Hashtag get him verified.
Yeah, we need to create that initiative now.
That's
Get
added
Doogie
to your
verified.
bucket list. By the way, I know I almost cut you off earlier. The bucket list item of a cup snake, it might be happening with the Wild. I'll say it might be happening with the Wild. We're in discussions.
Yeah, you guys
so
will
we'll keep you
advertise
posted.
it, so, but if you want to send me a DM, fine. But otherwise, I follow what you guys are doing, so I'll see it. I just know that in the summer I may have a little bit more flexibility.
Right.
But yeah, if you've got one coming up in February or March and the date works, I'm in.
Okay.
But like at some point, if it's not February or March, I'm telling you, like this summer.
Yep.
And I'd love for it to be at a Saints game. I love my guy Sean over there and Derek and those guys. But if it's at Target Field, that's fine too. But like one way or another, like before the year is over, I'd love to join you guys.
We'll make it happen.
Love it.
We'll absolutely make it happen.
Good.
Yep,
Thanks.
we'll let you know.
I like it.
Well, yeah, Darren, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you guys having me. Keep up the good work.
Will do. All right, welcome back to It's a Bit. That was a blast with Doogie. That's the kind of guy you can talk with for hours because he's just, he's got the scoop, the name of his show. He's always got the scoop, and always fun to kind of pick his brain on what he thinks is going on because he's literally involved everywhere in the media. But that just about does it, folks, for another episode of It's a Bit. Thanks so much for supporting us and listening to the show as always. Make sure to follow 10,000 Takes on all your socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Go to the website, 10ktakesmn.com. Make sure to listen to the other shows. And just keep up to date with everything we're doing. We got some potential events coming up here in the future, some great partnerships. So, we're always working on building the rocket ship just a little higher. But thank you, as always, to everyone out there supporting us, keeping the bit going. and we'll see you next week.